Hello, and welcome back to another episode of For the Good of the Game. I'm your host, John Davis, JD, and in keeping with our season 2 theme of relationships, I am super excited to have two guys that have known each other for quite a while. Our first guest is Coach Bill McGregor. Bill is the legendary head coach of DeMatha Catholic High School, the Stags football program. He's been the head coach for 30 seasons, during which he's accumulated a record of 285 wins, against only 44 losses and 3 ties. Now, if you do the math, that's an 85.8% win percentage, which is just incredible, Coach. During that time, he's led the Stags to 17 conference titles. He's been voted as the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference Coach of the Year 12 times and the 2005 NFL High School Coach of the Year. Really cool that Bill has been instrumental in helping 350 plus DeMatha alum from the football program achieve Division I status to play football at the next level. And among those, notably, have achieved NFL status are current Eagles safety Rodney McLeod Jr., former linebacker Cameron Wake, former Eagles running back Brian Westbrook, and our second guest today, who is former defensive back JB Brown. JB played for Coach McGregor at DeMatha and went on to a stellar career at the University of Maryland with the Terrapins, and was notably drafted by the Miami Dolphins in 1989 in the NFL draft, and enjoyed a 12-season career in the NFL, which is also the longest NFL career among DeMatha alum who have achieved the NFL status. JB played for 8 years in Miami, a year in Pittsburgh, a year in Arizona, and finished up with 2 years in Detroit, where, interestingly enough, his first year coach in Detroit was Coach Bobby Ross, who was also, JB, I believe, your first coach at Maryland, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So I had the pleasure of escorting and interviewing Coach Ross a couple of times. So it is with great pleasure I welcome these two gentlemen to the show. Guys, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, John. Really great honor and privilege to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Well, it's my honor, Coach. Really, this opens up a kind of a platform to be able to really talk about a lot of things. And while with someone with your experience and JB's experience, certainly as a player, I would love to be able to talk all the X's and O's. But this year, really focused on something in line with the theme for the program, For the Good of the Game, which is relationships. And Coach, over 40 years at DeMatha, including 30 seasons, obviously it would have been 31, but this year's was canceled this past fall. As the head coach, what makes football at DeMatha such a special experience, in your opinion?
I think everything starts with the philosophy we have and a priority system we have. And it all began, we had a legendary basketball coach. His name was Morgan Wooten. And when Coach Wooten retired, he was the all-time winningest high school basketball coach ever. He's also a member and voted into the NBA Hall of Fame. So it gives you an idea of his status. Just an incredible man. But he laid down the priority system we have at DeMatha. And, we do everything faith-filled. We begin everything with a prayer, end everything with a prayer. And we do a lot of character talking. About doing the right thing, being the best you can possibly be, treating others the way you want to be treated. The second thing that he always promoted, or second priority he always promoted, was family. And we like to consider ourselves at DeMatha an extension of the young men's family. Everything in life, I think, is relational. And if you're going to have any type of relationship with anybody, one of the things you have to have is communication. And
Sure.
I'm a firm believer having open door, come in and talk, sit down with us, reach out to each other, and just be relational be in relation, listen to what people have to say, and be able to respond back in a professional way. It may be what somebody wants to hear, maybe what somebody doesn't want to hear, but at least with the door open door communication, I think it lays a foundation for that relationships. And that's what it's all about. That's the great thing about football, having been in the league or having done this for so long. All the relationships I've been able to form and all the young men I've been able to meet and have maybe play a small part in their lives. It's been very, very special to me.
I tell you, it's interesting because you and I met, actually, I think it was 2011, where it was shortly after you had left DeMatha.
Right.
And I was just so impressed that in your capacity as helping me set up the camp and everything that we were running there in Maryland, it was just incredible. I mean, it was no doubt, you had enjoyed that tenure because everybody we met knew who you were. There was some kind of relationship involved. JB, having experienced DeMatha football firsthand and, being a part of the Stags football culture, what is it about Coach McGregor and that culture that he built? And he talked a little bit about its beginning, but what was it about that experience that really made your football experience so special at DeMatha?
The expectation, my first year at DeMatha, I believe, was his first year coaching at DeMatha. I believe that was 1983. Is that right, Coach?
Yeah, 82. Yeah, 82, JB. Yeah, I was
82.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So 82, 83 season, that was my first year. I was a sophomore. I made the varsity. And the first thing I realized when I got there is that you were held to a high expectation. You were expected to be a scholar. You expected to work hard to be the best athlete you could be and to be the best person you could be. So we talked about family. I was recruited to DeMatha by another player, a great player who played there. His dad recruited my dad, and then my dad got me interested in going because they had no girls. So at first I was like, I don't know about this. And I only knew one person. That was the friend whose father had recruited my dad and got me to go there. So I had to learn all new friends. I didn't know who Coach McGregor was. As a matter of fact, when I went to interview at the school, Coach Jerry Franks was still there. And so I had to get to know Coach McGregor and all the other coaches. So I just went in with an open mind. And I don't know if I ever told Coach this, but after my first semester, I really wanted to leave because I had a 45-minute commute to school and back home from school. But you would get there, you would go through classes, you go through practice, you have to go home, you have to do your homework, you have enough time to eat some dinner and maybe talk to somebody a little while, and then you have to get right back up and do it again. So John, you were a military guy. DeMatha is regimented, but it helps you when you get to the next level. When you get to college, when I got to college, it was nothing for me. Even the meeting format, even how we reviewed film. Back then in high school, we reviewed film like we did in college. So the school, we say one DeMatha, there's only one DeMatha because they just have a certain way of doing things that helps young men flourish, when they become adults.
And I think that's one thing that is so incredibly important when you talk about life skills. And a big part of my coaching philosophy has to do with not only fundamentals in football, but it revolves around the platform of football to be able to teach life skills. I think that's what's so special. Bill, obviously having great support from the administration and the local community, which you built over time, is key. But when you're attempting to build a successful program, how important are those internal relationships you talked about? Like, and specifically what I'm focusing on is coach to coach, coach to player, and then the alumni program when you start looking at building a legacy.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think everything obviously starts with the school administration. Okay, you have to develop a strong relationship with the school administration. Our principal back then was Mr. Moreland. Actually, he just passed a couple of days ago. And just a tremendous man. He was the principal at DeMatha for over 40 years. And again, he had that open door policy. If there was any type of issue, you could literally walk into his office, sit down and talk with him. And he would make the calls. And I think that was very, very important. Okay. The second thing I think is very important is the relationship you have with the faculty. You just cannot be seen as the football coach, and that can't be your own priority. I mean, you have to be on the same line and same standard as every other faculty member. Being on time for the faculty meetings, participating in the faculty meetings, talking to the other new teachers in the hallways, and anything you can do to try to go above and beyond maybe a little bit, and communicating to the faculty that, hey, I'm just not a football coach. I just don't care about football. I care about the whole picture. And the whole picture is very, very important, because that's the academic success of the kids. That's most important. So I think that's important. Then the relationships you go on and establish with your parents. JB's father and myself. I mean, I can't say enough great things about his dad.
Real quick, Coach, not to interrupt you, but he just told me the other day, he's retired again. John, he's retired from 4 jobs, and he's bored to death. So he said, I think I'm going to get with Bill and, help out at the school, try to help him recruit or do whatever I can just to stay busy. So that's for you. So you give him a call, and he'll talk to you about it.
Well, his lifetime contract with me, JB, you know that. But, this goes back to, way back 1982. And James and I today are, James is the best. There were 2 dads that would help me literally recruit. It was JB's dad and Mike Anderson's dad, Norm, and again, it's that relationships that you establish, with the parents, and that then trickles down, I think, to the players, because the parents feel comfortable with you. They know you. They can talk to you. It's a first name basis, and as a result, I think you get much more production from the guys, from the team, and everybody else. But again, it's relational. It starts with communication, open-mindedness. Okay, as a head football coach, you don't know everything. You don't have the right way to do it all the time. I think you got to listen. You got to talk. You got to communicate, and develop the relationships as the years go on, and as the season goes on, and as the years go on with the guys in high school. Well, JB's father. We went back forever. James would come in, would sit and talk at times just about life or whatever. JB's father was a police officer, so he was heavily involved within the community. He was always a good resource to talk in terms of what's happening out there, what's going on with even other schools, other areas in DC. JB's father would go out and talk to other prospective parents for me about maybe coming to DeMatha. Now it's not just me as the head football coach talking. It's a parent, and not only a parent, but a very well respected parent, a very well respected police officer in the community. So again, so much of coaching, I believe, is relational like that.
Yeah, I agree. It's in fact, the inspiration for the theme for this season was actually the video that was done by Coach Bill Curry called The Huddle. I don't know if either or both you guys have seen that, but I had followed Coach Curry for a long time because I'm a lifelong Alabama fan. And in fact, he was the second interview I did for this season. And, that's really the focus, with those relationships being the foundation, and football being such a fantastic program and platform to do that. Hey, JB, outside of football, what other factors stand out in your mind when you think about your time at DeMatha? What things contribute to building that legacy? Coach talked about the faith-based education, extracurricular activities. I'm assuming you've been involved as an alum of coming back periodically or talking to kids. What else stands out in your mind, based on that experience that helped you as you went forward into Maryland and into your NFL career?
Well, he talked about relationships a lot. It's relationships. It's the expectation. It's, trying to be the best person you can be. And, we consider ourselves a family, DeMatha, and there's a sense of pride. And, we stay in touch with one another. And while I was there, I got to know all the faculty, everybody in the building. And, the principal who was there when I was there, Mr. John Moreland, may he rest in peace. He just passed away, but he would come out there and coach the punters. He would talk to us during the school day. Coach Wooten would talk to us. I mean, it's just a family atmosphere. And along with my family, my immediate family, the DeMatha family helped me to learn how to socialize, taught me about relationships. You spoke about my career. At the end of my career, I was at Detroit, and I played for the coach who recruited me to college, who I played for at Maryland. And I had lost a few steps. I lost a little bit of skill, but he wanted me there because he knew me. He knew what kind of person I was. And another scout told me that they were in a meeting and they was like, well, he's lost a step. He said, well, I want him here in the story. I want him for his leadership and he can still help us. So that's just a small example of relationships and how you conduct yourself the right way that it can help you later on in life. And that's what I try to tell my kids and tell everybody is that this whole world revolves around relationships. John, we work together at FBU. How many relationships did we form with each other? And with parents and kids who some of them, a lot of them played in high school, played in college. Some of them made it to the pro level. So the biggest thing I can take away from DeMatha is just the relationships, the bond, the expectation, the caring and all of that.
It's crazy. You talk under the category of it's a small world. The second time I escorted Coach Ross, I was taking him to the airport. And before he got out of my truck, we were talking about philosophies. He said, John, do you have a coaching philosophy? I said, oh yeah, coach, I'm good. He said, no. Do you have a written coaching philosophy? And I said, no, sir, I don't. And he said, well, let me encourage you to sit down and write one. He said, and to do that took me about a month to be introspective and retrospective enough. And of course, I don't have, near the coaching experience that Coach McGregor does, but through 20 plus years of coaching from youth up through high school, it made me sit and think about, what do I mean as a coach? Well, who do I represent? Who do I want to be? And how do I want to be judged, by parents and players and stuff? And I think so much of what we're talking about makes all of that extremely important. Bill, when you returned to DeMatha in 2019, that was your 30th season as a head coach. You posted a 7-4 record, and I presume felt good about the positive momentum, coming back a little bit. And then 2020 hits and COVID-19 and the conference cancels the schedules for 2020. How did the environment that we just lived through change your approach, if at all, in terms of forging those relationships, maintaining accountability, and maintaining the momentum of that culture you've talked about?
Well, obviously, we just went through something that, we still are going through something that have never experienced before. I almost have a blueprint for almost anything else, but I really don't have the blueprint for the COVID-19 situation. I mean, it's just been totally unique. We tried to engage the guys as much as possible through Zooms. So we would have position Zooms. We would have, offensive Zooms, defensive Zooms. I went out and ordered a book. It's called Make Your Bed by Admiral McRaven. And we would go over chapters of Make Your Bed with the guys during the Zooms. Yeah, great book. Unbelievable. I highly recommend it to anybody. But again, anything you could do way back in like March and April, May, just to try to communicate with the guys. And again, it was very tough. Not so much for me, but I really felt for the guys. They're the ones that are missing out in that off-season weight program. Then all of a sudden it becomes June, and now all the college camps are canceled. And so, they weren't able to participate in any of the college camps or the one days and things like that. We were not able to do 7-on-7. We were, still in lockdown. Then it becomes July and August. August, you're ready, gearing up for the season and things like that. And again, we were totally shut down. We could not even get the kids into the weight room. We didn't start the weight room until I guess September, October. So it's been really, really tough on the guys. Even now, we're weightlifting, but we can only go into the weight room. We bring a group in at 4:00, a group in at 5:00, a group in at 6:00, but we can only have 20 at a time. So again, it's all about communicating as best you can. I had one boy had a 3.5 GPA, and right now we were still virtual at school, and his grades dropped significally, and they dropped because he's having a hard time with the Zoom as opposed to in class learning. So again, a lot of it is just continually reaching out to the guys, having my coaches reach out to the guys, text, Zoom, when you have a chance to be with them, talk to them. sitting down and communicating as best you can, and see where they are in their world. The other thing that I find was very difficult. We have a tremendous academic resource center at DeMatha where the kids can get help, where they weren't able to go to the faculty members who were there. So again, that had to be done by Zoom, which is different. You have incoming freshmen, okay, and it's really incredible on them. One day I asked, I'm having a conversation with one of the freshmen. I said, "Well, you have to get in touch with Mr. Jamie O'Connor," and he looked at me sideways. Who's Jamie O'Connor? I have no idea who he is. Had he been in the building, everybody knows. So again, it is and still going on, because we're just going back hybrid on Tuesday, and who knows how that's going to be for a while, because the COVID numbers here in the state of Maryland are still pretty high, and we're still under kind of restrictions. So it's difficult, really difficult for the kids.
Yeah, I agree. It's JB, do you know Deshaun Burns?
Yes, I do.
Coach Burns is the head coach at Linfield Christian out in Temecula, California. And I was watching him during the off season. He would do Zoom classes where he would have his players actually put their phone or the computer in a position where he could see them, and he would take 4 or 5 of them at a time through workouts, and he was watching them on his computer and encouraging them and stuff. And I thought that was pretty creative. It's created a dynamic that I don't think a lot of coaches were prepared to deal with. I've got a good friend here in Kentucky who is in the middle school football Hall of Fame, who took over a new program that was a fairly storied program and had been down in hard times. And he turned them around. They went 9-2 this year in one conference, and he won 6A Coach of the Year. And it was because he was able to create an environment and get creative enough, even in this environment, to be able to do things. So there's this big elephant in the room hanging out. I want both you gentlemen to give context for this, because it's huge, especially given the fact that DeMatha being a private school and being able to go out and seek other folks, kids from other places, do some recruiting, as it were. I'm sure that, in Maryland, it's become, and certainly the National Capital Region, it's become an issue with NIL, name, image, and likeness. And, it's something that, whether you're a proponent or antagonist of it, it's a kind of program that I think has kind of come of age almost. So for those people that may be watching that for whatever reason don't know, it's the idea that athletes, certainly at the college level, can now or will be able to benefit and make money from their name, image, and likeness. So how do you think that this will impact, the high school game and maybe the recruiting piece from your foxhole, but especially for schools like DeMatha, who seek players from a broader area in terms of and that kind of thing? And JB, I'd like you to address this first, both as a former Division I athlete, and then also, from what you see of the landscape now.
You've heard for years how coaches benefit from, what players do on the field, and the schools, they make so many millions of dollars. Coaches make so many millions of dollars, and the players, they say, well, they should be happy with getting a scholarship, having their room and board paid for, and all of that. I would say I think players do deserve something, but on the other hand, and I'll take it back down to the high school level, and Coach can attest to this, you'll have a great player, and, the parents will be talking to you like they're their agent, this is what I expect, and how much money you're going to give me. And they're shopping them around like they're already NFL players. So it can be good in a way, that players can get some financial help, because when I was in college, you had players who had nothing. Their families had nothing, and they were just thankful to be at school, but they were struggling. So I do think that players should get something. What they get, that remains to be negotiated and to be seen. But on the flip side, you have players who, before they even get to college, they think they're, that they've made it, and that, they should be treated, a certain way, and they should already, have everything that they want. So it's a two-headed monster as far as I'm concerned. But I do think players do deserve something. What they deserve, I'm not sure, and that's still being talked about. Yeah,
it was interesting. I was interviewing Anthony Munoz, and he talked about they were in another interview, and they were talking to a kid who was in high school, and they asked him, why did you make the choice that you did among all the scholarship offers that you had? And his answer, which, you would expect the typical answer to be, I want to compete with a program that's always in the run for a national championship, or I want to go get a conference championship, or the coach there develops players for the NFL or whatever, all the answers he had, his answer was, and this was within the last year, his answer was, I'm going there to build my brand. And
well, see, that's the thing I didn't mention, that brand thing. And that can be positive if you're mature enough to be able to know how to do it. But on the flip side, guys are more interested in building their brand starting from youth and high school and college than they are actually playing the game and getting better or getting an education.
Coach, do you see any evidence at all? And it's probably not fair at a program like DeMatha, a public school, which with a zone and restricted area from which kids can come, may have bigger challenges in this regard than you do because of the culture and the foundation that you all have at DeMatha, but and bigger than football or Bill McGregor. But how do you see it impacting, at the high school level, if at all, and what do you worry about?
Yeah, well, just like JB said, I think social media has totally changed the game. If somebody gets a scholarship, immediately he goes up on Twitter, goes up on Instagram, goes up on whatever, posts he has the scholarship, this is scholarship number 31, this scholarship number 27. I mean, all that hype, and it have not even maybe even significantly contribute, to their high school football team, let alone their college team. And I think social media has changed everything. I think the kids believe the social media, and then all of a sudden, Johnny sees that Jimmy got a scholarship. Why don't I have a scholarship? What's wrong with me? And the answer is, there's nothing wrong with you yet. You're just developing. You're not at the quite same stage. Keep working hard. Things will work out fine. I think everybody wants immediate gratification. And that's one of the tough sells you have right now, saying, hey, take your time. It's going to happen for you. I promise it's going to happen. Just, be a part of the process. Like, I'll give you one example of here with JB. Okay. I knew from day one that JB was going to be incredibly successful. Okay. JB, number one, academically worked incredibly hard. He was never a problem academically. I think he graduated from DeMatha with a 3.5, 3.7 GPA. And it's hard. I mean, every course he was taking was an academic course. I mean, we have a half a semester of PE. That's it. So, 99% of the student body goes on to a 4-year school. So they leave DeMatha with a 3.5, 3.7 GPA was absolutely amazing. JB then, to better himself, okay, didn't worry about what the college's recruiter said, okay, to better himself, okay, he went and ran track. And he was part of our track team, and our track team was outstanding, especially our 4x100 meter relay team, which JB was a part of. He set the school, their 4x100 meter relay team set the school record. So, academically, he touched all the bases, not worrying about the social media, not worrying about any of the nonsense. Then doing the extras, doing track. Then we had an old weight room, and our weight room was in the basement of the school. And JB would come back after track, and he and a fellow teammate, Bobby Houston. Bobby ended up having a 9-year career in the NFL also. If I was looking for JB and Bobby when I'm going home, they would be in the weight room lifting. Now, so this is after a full day of academics, a full practice of track, and now back in the weight room. And I'd hand in the McKay and I'd say, hey guys, make sure you guys log up when you're done. But that's where they were, and that's the kind of attitude they had. That's the kind of work ethic they had. Kids today, I mean, you have to steer them. A lot of times they're more concerned about, hey, what's happening on social media, what's going on with this, going with that. If you work hard and do the right thing, great things are going to happen for you. It's really that simple. But don't be pulled away by all the externals that exist right now.
Yeah, it's actually kind of sad when you consider it, but there are a number of documented cases of guys that were ultra successful at the high school level, highly recruited athletes in more than just football, but I know of many in football that have had their careers completely unravel and lost out on opportunities because of social media. And I know numerous head coaches that, publicly speak or caution their athletes and say, hey, if you're going to have an account, here are some things to watch out for. And I even know of two public schools that have actually employed, beyond sports, it goes student body wide, have employed people to really counsel kids on the aspects
social media.
Yeah.
John, something Coach was good at even before social media came, and I know even more so now, he could bring you back down to earth. You were not going to get too big for your bitch. And we've had some great athletes at that school. But one thing he did was he would bring you back down to where you need to understand you need to work hard and it ain't about you. You know what I mean? And that's the fight now with this social media. It's out of control. So many kids talk about the offers that they have. And I have to tell kids all the time, an offer doesn't mean that you're getting a scholarship.
Yep.
Yep.
Very true.
Yeah. The offers now are nothing more than the letters in the old days.
That's it.
Some schools are sending out 400 or 500 offers. They don't mean a thing. But in the parents' mind, in the boys' mind, I got an offer. I'm helping a boy from another school, trying to get him in school right now. And I've known his dad really well, and know the young man pretty well. And I think he had 20 offers. Okay, but all of a sudden it came time to commit. None of the offers were committable offers, and so now he's. They had the early signing day, and he's stuck and has no place to go because he literally believed that these were really committable offers without really having somebody with him, sitting him down and asking the coaches at the time, is this an offer or is this a committable offer? And again, now he's posted all over social media, and he was as happy as can be with all the posts, but reality came in when he finds out, hey, they're nothing more than letters. So again, I think there has to be, it goes back to communication. You got to be able to sit down with your parents, got to be able to sit down with your players and explain, hey, this doesn't mean a thing. I have a 10th grade quarterback, okay, who I had to sit down and talk with the other day. He's going to be a great player. But he wants to put in his top 10 choices. Okay, we're not doing that. I mean, that person, that head coach may not even be at the school where you're saying right now. You never want to eliminate anybody. You talk to everybody and treat everybody the same. Listen, and let's make our choices down the road. But again, kids don't know and parents don't know. But again, it's continual counseling and communication, trying to explain, look, here's reality.
John, one thing about Coach real quick, and I always mention this to everybody that talks about Coach McGregor, is that he works harder in the offseason than he does during the season actually coaching us. And he mentioned that he's helping somebody from another school. He's helped countless players from other schools get scholarships. So that's just something about him that he probably didn't want to mention. But yeah, I mean, I would call him in the offseason. He's like, man, I got to go. I got this coach. I got that coach. I got to go. I mean, he is working hard, really hard, harder than he does actually during the season, to be honest with you.
Well, I think a lot of that extends from directly from a person's heart. And I think that when you are, it goes back to the phrase, I think, JB, servant leadership. We've done multiple episodes talking about the aspects of leadership. And I think that that's a demonstration of really, a heartfelt leader. I want to kind of close out with asking each of you guys to address, and JB, I'll let you go first and give the floor to Coach last. From the standpoint of why I started this, last year our theme was, football insights and life skills. So, even though it's a football podcast, at least for now, we're not really talking about X's and O's and great strategies. I mean, there are coaches out there, both, experienced and inexperienced guys that are wonderful at that kind of stuff. What I want to do is connect with athletes and or parents about the intangible aspects of the game and that it presents. So from the final question would be, JB, from your experience as a father, as a former athlete at DeMatha, Maryland, and in the NFL, if you're talking to a young kid today, be they say ages, 13 to 18, that middle school, high school age kid, under a for the good of the game type of approach, what what kind of guidance or advice would you give somebody who's looking to continue to play football and become a better person?
Well, football can definitely help you in life. It can, you can go to school, you can, you go to college, and it can take you places, other than professional, because there's a small percentage that make it there. But I just tell guys to try to be the best person you can. This game is about relationships. And the thing I miss the most, even more so than the money I made, is the relationships that I forged and I still have today with a whole lot of players and a whole lot of people, a whole lot of administrators. So, more so than trying to be the best athlete, first, be the best person you can be. You know what I mean? And whatever your religious affinity, you're loyal to that. You value your family, you value your friendships, you value relationships. And in that, you're working towards a goal. You want to get a college scholarship, you want to play, you want to be a good student. So in high school, DeMatha taught me, again, was discipline, was hard work, because as I said, after my first semester, I wanted to leave. It was just so hard. But I was like, you know what, I got to stick it out. Even in college, John, my first year, we won the ACC championship. And then after that, we didn't win a whole lot. So I easily, a lot of kids, if things aren't going their way, if the team's not winning, they want to leave. I stayed, and then I got drafted by the skin of my teeth in the 12th round. So I'm behind the 8 ball again. There was a gentleman from Syracuse. We're still good friends. He got drafted in the 4th round. They kept me and cut him. I was a 12th round pick. I might as well have been a free agent. So I say all that to say that you just have to have a foundation that you're not going to let things get you down, and you're going to work as hard as you can. And in the process of doing that, you're going to try to be the best person you can be, and you're going to cherish relationships. Again, meeting you and meeting some of the other guys in FBU who I didn't know has meant the world to me. And I still have great relationships with a lot of those guys. So that's what I would leave with young men. Try to be the best athlete that you can be, try to be the best person that you can be. And in doing that, you work on your skill and your craft. And if it's meant for you, it is. If it's not the end of the world. A lot of kids say they want to be this pro or be that pro. I say you can make it a goal, but if you don't reach that goal, be able to have something else to fall on. And also, again, always nurture the relationships and always network and be the best person you can be.
That's awesome. Coach, how about through your eyes with your experience at DeMatha and certainly all the things we've talked about that you're involved in outside, off the field?
Yeah, John. And number one and foremost, it's all about character. Okay. You want to be a good person. And it goes back to what Lou Holtz said many, many years ago, right? You want to do what is right. And if you're not sure of it being right, ask yourself the question, is this the right thing for me to do? If the answer is yes, go ahead and do it. If the answer is no, or maybe, get away from it, okay? Do the right thing, because character really counts. And it's all about what you have, not on the outside, but what you're developing on the inside. You want to be a good guy. And again, I think that's incredibly important in the development of any young man, that he can carry over in life. Because I want you to be a good son. I want you to be a good grandson. I want you to be a good husband. I want you to be a good father. But it starts with your character, and we have to work on that. And you have to hear it all the time. You have to have guys in and talk to the kids about, here's some of the experiences I had, either good or bad, and character counts. The second thing is this, okay? I think this is incredibly important for young men. Okay, like I tell my people, I tell my team all the time, you're not here for football, basketball, or baseball. You're here at DeMatha for one thing and one thing only, and that's your education. I promise you this, football is going to end, and it's always going to end when you don't want it to end. Everybody wants to play one more down, one more quarter, one more season, one more whatever from football, but it's going to end. The one thing that never ends, okay, is your education. Okay, with an education, you can have opportunities. With opportunities, you can have choices. I never want you in a situation where you have to take this job because of lack of education, you're not qualified. I want you to go out and you decide what you want to do with your life after football, because that's going to be your 40-year career. And you do that with one thing and one thing only, and that's your education. So that same passion you have for football, you got to develop that same passion for something else in life. I always say this to the recruits, right? If we have a ball game tonight, how do you feel? And they smile and they're happy and Coach, I can't wait. Let's go. I'm going to put the helmets on. Let's go play. Now, tonight you have to read 25 pages of To Kill a Mockingbird. How do you feel? Oh, Coach, are you kidding me? Oh, wow. It's all, yeah, it's like the end of the end all. But that same passion you have for football, you have to have that same passion for education. You have to read those 25 pages of To Kill a Mockingbird. You got to read them with enthusiasm. You got to read them. Hey, I'm here. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done. Because that's going to develop your academic skills, and that's going to get you where you're going to be in life someday, and that's going to be your career. So I think there are two important things: character and academics, and obviously, like we talked about earlier, relationships. And I think you're on your way to being a successful young man.
That's awesome. Well, I tell you, gentlemen, I certainly appreciate you guys taking the time to come on, and I appreciate the friendship, albeit, you know, it's been a while since I've seen or talked to each of you, but even more importantly, to reinforce those relationships that you build, in our cases, all through football, albeit not necessarily a team that we, you know, worked with or for. It just proves to make the point that we're talking about. And I think the wonderful things that JB, you've certainly done as a player, as a father, and as a community member and coach throughout your career, you know, the relationships you've built and people you've helped, not only through DeMatha football, but in and around, like JB talked about with the other kids and other coaches, speak volumes for both the type gentleman that you are, as well as those things that you espouse in terms of those relationships. So thanks very much for taking the time to be with us today. I absolutely appreciate both you guys being here, and wish you great success going forward.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, John, so much. Like I said in the beginning of the show, it's really great honor, great privilege to be on your show. Yeah, we go back a number of years with the FBU, but again, it's all relationships. You know, as soon as JB said, "Hey," he asked me, would I be on your podcast? I said, absolutely. Yeah, I've known John for years, although we haven't talked for a number of years. So, yeah, thank you for having me.